Good afternoon, guys. Just listening to a little bit of the ECB press conference. So ECB have hiked rates. Nothing surprising there. I was just listening to what President Lagarde had to say with regards to what data they're following. Very much like the FOMC last night, very much data dependent. If they feel that they need to act again, they will act again. Yeah, very, very similar to what the Federal Reserve are also talking about from last night. But we've seen a little pop in the dollar today, so we'll discuss that a little bit, and we'll see what's going on around the markets, because we kind of got the reaction that I expected from the FOMC. That rhetoric has now changed, really. Now the ECB have come into the markets, the dollar has started to weaken. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting little analysis day. We'll have a little look at what's going on around the grounds. So that's a little match of the day saying. Morning, Denise. Good afternoon, Vincent. I hope you're both well. Let me know what you guys are trading. Let me know what you guys are up to. So ECB, yeah, like I said, there's nothing really new coming out of that. She's just talked about there's a couple of inflation headlines coming out ahead of their next meeting in September. So that's going to be something that we need to kind of focus on. There was some expectations from the Fed that we were going to see some declines in employment and things like that. So we'll see if we actually do get a little bit of a looser labor market. But Fed also willing to hike if needs be soon. So yeah, hello, Code. Checking out the dollar index, we can see that we didn't get that downside as we expected, but we are starting to kind of pull back a little bit here, maybe perhaps into that 102. Now, I can't remember if we did talk about this in the week ahead analysis or if we talked about this in the live stream, but you know, I'm a big fan of following this weekly chart, and you know, getting that weekly close above the 101 was my only concern coming into this week. I felt that we maybe could start to seek that 102 low. But yeah, like yesterday, FOMC happened. If I just go onto the hourly chart, we had that sort of move to the downside as we were expecting. It carried on through. It's just the ECB announcement has seen this reaction from the market. So ECB really having an effect on the US moves in here. I know we've also got, let me just go to, got some important data coming out of the US as well. Let me just log into my, where's my economic calendar gone? Oh, here we go. Let's filter some of these out. Yeah, we've had some dollar data as well. Obviously, some core durable goods orders came in 0.6%. So that's actually a bit of a shock to the market, to be honest. A very big shock, actually, considering the fact that it was forecast to come in at 0%. So it came in at 0.6%. So that's good. GDP came in a lot higher than expected as well. So yeah, dollar's really reacting to this. Price index quarter on quarter came down to 2.2%, but GDP, the big one, quarter on quarter, was expected to come in below 2% at 1.8%, and has in fact jumped from 2% to 2.4%. So huge move there, considering what we've just heard from the Fed yesterday. So maybe the market's reading this into the fact that this may not be the point of stopping for the Fed. Let me just go check out the Fed Watch tool. See how that's positioned. Hello, Vegas. Tan, euro, dollar, and euro kiwi just flipping crashed. Yeah, we could put it like that. Big flip over there. Yeah. Same with Aussie. Dollar yen's actually starting to make a nice little move back to the upside there. Cable coming way down now. Cable was an interesting one. I did like the idea of buying the break here at 128. It's just, this is what happens when it comes to big news, guys. Like, I very much am a big believer in not positioning yourselves in the market when it comes to big data drops like this, because you just never know what's going to happen with the news. And although the news is great, it helps us, helps the market kind of come alive, essentially, gives those moves. They're very, very hard to predict, like you can see there with that GDP number. I don't think anybody would have expected that GDP number, considering the recent falls that we've seen in inflation rates recently in the US. So that's definitely a bit of an interesting move there. Let's see what the CME is telling us. So target rates for the September meeting now showing at 76% that we're going to get a pause, rather than 24% saying that we're going to get a hike in the market. So that'll probably change as the data sort of changes going towards that meeting. But yeah, Denise, GDP came in better than expected. Yep, just caught that. So yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure my other economic calendar did not show me GDP figure. Because it put the that's crazy, that is. So the other economic calendar I was using put advanced GDP quarter on quarter as a non-priority announcement. So be careful where you get your news. From. I've switched. I've gone to investing.com now. It's a bit more detailed. DX to 102, Vegas, of course, but candlestick price action itself, coupled with supply and demand zones, have already clued us in 2 hours early before the news drop. Okay, if that's what you think as well. Yeah, I guess you're saying that because price ran this high here, that's the supply and demand zone, or the supply zone, right? But that's just a high. It's just a prior high. Prior highs often get reactions. You know, sometimes you wouldn't expect that type of reaction, though. You know, would you expect the price to continue all the way down into here? I quite like this 108.82 level we've pointed out previously from some volume profile stuff. So I wouldn't mind seeing euro dollar price continue to push lower here for now. But yeah, code it. Looks like we're going to see 102 on the dollar index. Whether price surpasses that level, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see if price can head towards the 103.40s, 103.50s, or even the 103 handle first. But yeah, you've got these highs up in here. That could be the next sort of level of interest if we were to see that continuation higher. But nice bullish candlestick there. That GDP figure really could spark some life back into the dollar, to be honest. And that means we could probably see some decent downside across many dollar pairs. Let's go take a look at gold, actually. Gold I quite liked for some upside this week. However, again, look at that weekly close. Weekly close back within the previous weekly range. Not something I particularly like to see. We were talking about longs down at this 1952. Came back up into this resistance level, didn't we? 1980s again. So this was the important level we were watching. Could price trade above 1980? And could that would have then sparked a lot of buying in gold? But looks like we're not going to see that now. Rejection down through here. A break below this 1945 could be an interesting area to look for shorts, because you've got these levels down through here, these lows, these sort of 1905s, maybe even back into that 1890 level. So it'd be interesting to see how price reacts down at this low in here, down through there, because break below that low, the next sort of area of interest would be down through this area here, especially if we were going to look at sort of, you know, where the sort of most trading's been happening recently. It's all down in and around this area here. So if we were to trade through that, could be a option to see price travel even lower here on gold. So yeah, that'd be an interesting market to watch, I feel. Yeah, Vegas, if we also look at the Dixie on the weekly time frame, the multi-month support floor was already broken. Nice analysis there. 101, 105 to 101 spot 50 to 103 spot 10. Yeah, absolutely. Well, from this weekly point of view, you know, if we were to kind of isolate the sort of downward motion that we've seen recently, this sort of mini lower low, lower high pattern, you would expect price to come and maybe retesting and around this area here. Yeah, I've got it marked up as the 102 to the 103s, especially those highs. We have been pretty range bound on the US dollar for the entire year between that sort of 105 and the 101. So it was interesting to see how price kind of reacted after a breakout. I always like to see two closes below a level of support if we are going to see continuation. And we didn't get that. We got that kind of bullish sort of fake out pattern, didn't we, where price came back above those lows. So yeah, to expect that kind of move there, I guess price action could have told you beforehand that was going to happen. So we'll wait and see what happens here, because you've got that 4-hour time frame now, you know, starting to kind of create the sort of noises that we like to see. Let me just bring my pen tool up, actually. From a technical perspective anyway. Well, now fundamentally, you're probably going to get that driver fundamentally with that GDP figure. We've got any more data coming up? We've got pending home sales coming up in the next 15 minutes. I guess ECB President Lagarde's still speaking. So there's going to be some stuff coming out there. What else do we have? Got Fed balance sheet data coming up as well. What we got tomorrow? Let's see if there's anything tomorrow. Oh, we got Tokyo core CPI coming out tomorrow. Oz PPI. Bank of Japan rate decision. So yeah, big day coming up tomorrow as well. Right, here we go. Right, yeah. So this is what I essentially want to see in that sort of weekly, you know, bullish move, or in this case, we're in that sort of downward cycle. The yellow's the weekly. If I was to then, you know, what we try and look within that is those kind of trends within that sort of retracement phase there, impulse phase here, right? Retracement phase. So we've had that impulsive phase now. We're in that retracement phase period on that weekly chart, and you can see how price starts to develop those higher highs, higher lows. So next level of sort of interest is that 102, and it's whether will that act as resistance? Will it act as the area of resistance where either we'll see again that kind of bearish kind of move to the downside, or whether price continues to trade higher? By the looks of that, it looks fairly bullish at the moment, but that could easily change. That could easily change. Let's go take a look at Aussie US dollar. I actually quite liked Aussie longs going into this week, and that was mainly due to the data out of the Australian dollar. So I think if you still like Aussie, then you could be looking at it from a different angle. I know we talked about Euro-Oz, so the downside, which is starting to play out at the moment. Have a look at the weekly chart. Rejected that 165 level. You know, we did discuss on the 4-hour time frame watching for a pullback into this area, which we did get really nice pullback. Sellers then started to re-enter the market, and prices now starting to develop and push lower. So we've just got to beat these lows now. But I still like the Australian dollar as a currency to get stronger. Not only is it getting stronger on sort of strength and weakness, we know from a fundamental point of view that there is a good chance that the RBA may hike rates again. So I still like the Australian dollar as a strong currency as well. And Euro was starting to play out there. I did have a position on pound Aussie, and that's still in. I'm still short this market at the moment, and just waiting for that to sort of play out. Starting to make the right sort of noises again now. It did have a moment where yesterday it spiked up quite aggressively, and that was down to some Oz data overnight, which actually saw these, was it CPI came in overnight, a little bit lower than forecasted, and just because that CPI is coming in lower doesn't mean that the RBA aren't going to hike rates again. It just means that, you know, that inflation rate starting to show that it is coming down, but inflation rate still fairly high. You know, it's now down at least from 7% to 6%. So we'll see if that can continue to occur and happen and play out there. Sorry, did I miss one there, Denise? You said US PCE. Is that tomorrow? Yeah, core price index tomorrow, PCE. Yeah, so another big day going into tomorrow. Be interesting to see how this week pans out, really, because we are going to go into August trading then, and you know, August trading, you know, has been very sort of slow in the past. Usually we get kind of low volumes, which can mean high volatility, which can kind of raise the alarms of, you know, it doesn't take a lot of market participants basically to push the market. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how August does play out, whether we get any kind of decent trends through August. We've already kind of discussed a couple of markets from a seasonal point of view, including Kiwi as one to watch. Kiwi dollar could be on its way to the downside again. You know, just looking at this daily chart now, if we take a little look at this and the zoom out view, you can see we've been trading within this bearish channel. Price spiked out of it, came back into those prior highs here at the 63.75. We've then jumped back within the channel, and it looks like we're sort of rejecting it now. So this could be a good area to start looking at our seasonal play for Kiwi. If I just bring in, let's see if I can get it on equity clock. Now, Equity Clock is a free website where you can get some seasonal stuff. Okay. So if you did want that, I'll pop that in here in the chat box. Let's have a quick look. Let's have a look around. Aussie futures. I'm about to go to the Forex to see this one. Yeah, this is what I'm kind of talking about here. End of July through August, it's one of the worst performing currencies, the New Zealand dollar. Let me see if I can zoom into that a little bit more. I've just realized on there it doesn't look as clear. Okay, you should be able to see that a little bit better now. But yeah, I like to look at seasonal plays, especially towards the end of a month. End of the month, start of a month, I like to look at seasonals. I like to look at where we could be expecting the market to go. Now you can kind of see here, if I just highlight July and August here for New Zealand dollar, you can see there's a over this, and this is 20 years of data, right? So you can see it says 20-year range ending 2022. So it hasn't got any of 2023's data in yet, which I'll probably update at the end of next year. But this is on average what happens in over a 20-year period. And you know what I like to look at with seasonality is where do those highs and lows come into it? Where are they kind of featured around? So like in May, there's usually quite a large low where Kiwi then starts to perform very well. So what we can do is use this information, or taking this information and say, well, is the New Zealand dollar following any kind of seasonal pattern or not? And if it is, can we then try and take a little bit of an advantage of that? So if I was just to pop that up here for a second, and we take a look at May, did we get a bottom through May? Well, that's the end of May through there. It says pretty much middle, but it is only an average. Middle of May, we tend to get a bottom in the New Zealand dollar, and this is what we had just through here. Let me just change that a second. Just through there. And then look, price has spiked up. We've then started to decline. When did we start to decline? Near the middle to end of July. You know, so does that mean we're going to get a potential seasonal play? And if we do, maybe we'll start to retest a few of these lows. We could even try and retest this channel support down through here. I think that's a pretty big ask, to be honest, seeing that channel support being tested. But, you know, it's just like to think ahead, think and say, well, what could we on average see? Now, I don't know by percentage on average how often we move. Let's have a quick look if we followed the seasonal pattern the year before. Not really. So you got May there. We did get a rally in May. We're looking at end of July going into August. So this was end of July going into August last year. We got a bit of a bump up, but then we did get strong declines then for the rest of the year. Now, this suggests that we shouldn't really get that. We should get a bottom forming towards the end of August, start of September, but it can be a bit choppy until that sort of November time. So I didn't really follow the sort of plan last year, not to the book anyway. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. We are coming into some levels of interest. One area that I did like was this 63.75 handle, or even the 65 handle above it. But obviously price has already started to make its move. So in terms of the weekly chart, we had a nice strong bearish weekly close last week. Typically when we get those type of candles, we do often get a retracement. I think if we were looking at it fib wise, it would have been around about a 50% retracement of last week. So we'll just go to the daily chart. Get rid of this fib a second. Put it over here a minute. Let's go to the 4 hour. We're in a period separator so we can kind of measure what happened last week. Yeah, you can see around about 50% of last week, and now we're starting to see that sort of decline coming through here. So I do quite like Kiwi to the downside. It's just, again, how do we kind of get on this move here? We did trade through a trend line resistance, which isn't great. But are we still technically making lower lows, lower highs here? I would say so. You've got the high that formed in here, low, lower high, lower low. So we're still working within that sort of motion there. And if I was to kind of fib up that level as well, I mean, I'm not a huge big believer in fibs, but again, anything that kind of visually helps us build a bit of a case. You can see we had quite a deep retracement there, even to the 23.6 before we started to see this market come down. So I do quite like Kiwi dollar. Like I said, I think what we can look for maybe is, you know, we've got short-term trend line running through here as well. Maybe a break below that could offer us a bit of an opportunity on a lower high, perhaps. You know, if we are going to see this continuation to the downside, we should see lower time frames start to shape up as well. So what you could wait for is price to continue to break lower, 20 and the 50 moving average cross, and then you could look for sort of something on the 20 and 50 moving average, those kind of dynamic support and resistances going forward. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Kiwi dollar as well, but nothing really changed for us there apart from the fact that we are getting this US dollar strength. Let's go take a look at yen. Obviously we did talk about CAD yen going into this week. Like I said, on CAD yen as well, quite like the 50% retracement on the weekly. If you did look at that, you're around about 70-80 pips up at the moment, with a long from that 50% rejection. Price starting to make the right noises here as well. I need a little bit more momentum going on there. Yeah, maybe we can get a strong daily close here, and then that could be the thing that kicks off a move towards this area, because I'm looking for the 109 targets basically on CAD yen. But looking at dollar yen, looks like we found some support, haven't we? Trendline support, broke back above that 140.50 high. So yeah, I wouldn't mind looking at any kind of yen weakness still. I think it's still something that we can potentially look for. I suppose break of short-term trend line there. Let's see where the 20 and 50 are on this. So yeah, look, still crossed over there, but starting to get the right ideas. Maybe we start seeing that crossover with price. You can see we're kind of getting that head and shoulders pattern, right? Where you've got the right shoulder, head, left shoulder. Nice rejection back in at that area as well. I always like to see a head and shoulders pattern always come in as support at the right shoulder, support resistance at the right shoulder. It just makes it a little bit more stronger for me. I just think that that's a better opportunity there. So yeah, price moving nicely to the upside here. You could probably even look at some lower time frames on dollar yen, but where would we kind of target? You got prior highs coming in at that 142 handle. Could even see that move back up to the 145 now. That would be quite interesting to see. Move back to 145, 145.50. Conversations will start again at the yen or Bank of Japan intervention at that point. Any questions so far, guys? Anything that you're watching, let me know. Let's have a quick look at the VIX. VIX starting to move lower again, which is good for the yen composite there. S&P 500 still climbing higher. Getting close to that high, isn't it? Might set an alert there. 46.37. Denise watching cable. You're looking for cable shorts, Denise, or you're still looking for the sort of longs on cable? I think everyone is in shock with the US dollar strength. Yeah, I must admit, I expected that dollar to be weaker. And like I said, after the FOMC, we can't. That's what we were expecting anyway. FOMC to kind of bring it in lower. I think that GDP number is a little bit of a shock, isn't it? It's almost like the core CPI figures that came in way lower, wasn't it? I did not expect the core CPI numbers to drop as they did, and they did. So yeah, let's just see how those pending home sales came out as well. Oh, that was a jump there as well. So pending home sales was revised from minus 2.7% to minus 2.5%. We've then had a forecast of minus 0.5% and a jump to 0.3%. So that means there's been a jump in the number of homes under contracts to be sold, but still waiting a closing transaction. So yeah, generally speaking, a higher number is generally bullish for the dollar. So yeah, a spout of good data coming out for the US. Denise looking for longs on cable going into next week. BOE. Okay, cool. So be interesting to see where this stops then. Maybe perhaps down at the sort of 127 levels. I mean, cable from a weekly point of view looks great, right? You've got a nice strong upward trend. I wouldn't mind, if you say that, Denise, I think you'd be right if we get to 126.50, one spot 26.50. If price is anywhere near there ahead of the Bank of England rate announcement, then that could be something to consider. It's just whether the market now backs this dollar a little bit. But you've got to get through these lows first, haven't we? If we look at it from a 4-hour perspective, we've got to get through these lows first. If we don't get through those lows, then, we're going to start seeing the market probably, or these sellers starting to fade a little bit. That's a strong area where we've seen some buying pressure recently. And big moves like this can often scare away traders, right, into getting long at least. So if price, comes into this level, we could see a small bounce from there. Vincent looking for UJ long from 140.34. 140. Let's have a quick look. 140.34. Okay, kind of back in that sort of action area we were discussing, sort of in and around here. Yeah, nice. And you've got nice break of structure there. You could argue we've got like a bearish channel break, or you can say we had a inverse head and shoulders. So yeah, if price did come back down, I don't see why we couldn't look for opportunities there. You've got the VIX index moving lower. Stock market's being supported at the minute. Yen's looking weaker again, which is good. We had a couple of days of risk off again, didn't we? And we started to see that sort of yen strength coming back into the market, but that looks like could be on its way. Can you please repeat what you said regards to XAU below 145? 145? We're looking at gold. Code it, sorry. $19.45. Okay. Yeah, I think so. The way I'd kind of look at this, I don't know if I can bring in a volume profile chart. Let me see if I can be sneaky and bring one in. It's not going to be on this one, is it? Let me see if I can bring in a new window. I like to look at volume profile because it kind of gives me a little bit of an area of where sort of big orders have come into the market. Now, the way I would look at it is you've got this kind of block down through here, right? Now, whenever I see consolidation to me is an accumulation, okay, or a buildup of buyers and sellers, right? And they're battling. And within this consolidation, they see what is called fair value, right? So they believe that this is fair value. The reason why, for whatever reason, they see this as fair value, because the market is ranging. They're buying and selling within that sort of period there. We then get to a point where one side kind of gives up and thinks that the value isn't there anymore, and you get this aggressive push to the upside, right? So you'll have like a big move up. And again, we've kind of got a similar thing happen there, right? You've got then buyers and sellers buying within this period here, and they're happy to trade within that. Now, what it does, it leaves this kind of gap between those two areas, right? Now, I believe this is an area where you could look to take advantage of between those type of points, right? So I think if you broke that 1945 level, you're more likely to come down to the 1927 point, because that is the previous area where price was kind of happy to trade between. Whether it then obviously continues lower is a different sort of question after that point. But what you'll get within these levels then are these things called points of control, which just basically means it's the most traded level. Let me see if I can try and get a volume profile chart up. It acts a little bit differently on gold. Right, let me see. Let me clear that the way. So let me just, I'm going to snapshot this, and then it kind of agrees with what I'm sort of saying anyway. Print screen that. Let's see if I can bring that up. Right, so you can see that there, hopefully. So that is this here, right? And this is what I was kind of talking to you about, where you've got sort of build up in volume, right? You get that kind of gapping in between, then build up in volume again, right? And this little sort of area through there, it's a little bit tighter on here. But I would kind of stretch it down to where we've got this value area low. You've got that sort of area there to kind of play with in between. And I think what will price, if price kind of fails at this area to hold, it would mean to me that they don't think that there's fair value being at this higher price, and they'll go and seek out somewhere else. So that may be this area down through here, right? The point of control is up here, but that's because I've fixed ranged it from there to there. If I was to do two sort of volume profiles, we'll probably have something that runs through there as the area of interest. But essentially what I like to look for is those kind of points where volume breaks out, okay, of those areas, and it goes and seeks another area of interest. So it could so happen that price holds at the area here, that 1945 area. If it holds there, it'll probably seek higher prices again, right? So it's pretty much like a range in market, okay, where you'd like to buy from the low, sell from the high. You've just got a little bit more info there. And if price was to trade out of that, you know, could we get a burst up to the next level of sort of a volume, wherever that volume may be? So yeah, that's what I'm kind of talking about there at that 1945. But you need to see it break down first, which it's not doing at the moment. In fact, if you look at the 4 hour, we're kind of holding there at the minute. So yeah, we'll see if we do get a reaction from that point, and if it reacts bullish, then price may want to come back and return back to that range high. Okay. Yeah, I do like that Kiwi downside, I must admit. Do like that Kiwi downside. Hey, Justin. Hope you're well. That dollar really getting strong at the moment, isn't it? It's really pushing those currencies. Let's go and have a little look around and about. Let's have a look at CAD yen. Like I said, I do like CAD yen. I'd like to see that one continue. Let's have a look at pound Oz, just because I'm in that position. So I'm just interested to see what's going on there. It looks like Aussie weakness really starting to kick in, though. Starting to get a bit of a pullback in that market as well. Let's have a look. Aussie yen. Bitcoin's still kind of holding up. Dollar CAD's just a pretty mess at the minute. So yeah, not really. Question Vegas, yeah, Johnny, you trying to buy yourself too? Yeah, I tried for myself. Just personal. A lot of my stuff usually is Euro futures, to be honest. But I do like to have a little broad look at the markets and do a bit of swing trading. But I don't particularly like to trade around the news events, I must admit. Especially when you trade in like the futures market. Denise, I was hoping Bitcoin would retrace to 2850 or 28,500. Let's have a look at Bitcoin then. Let's see where that's at. 28,500. I mean, you're not a million miles away. It's the level that we kind of discussed through here, isn't it? Have we had any news, crypto news? I'm not a big follower of the crypto market, you know. Not a huge follower of it, to be honest. We did like this 2850, 28,500 as a sort of area of interest, but I mean, it still could reach there, to be honest, Denise. There is a good chance that it could still drop down into this area here and then maybe rally again. Obviously, lots of injection of buying coming in there, wasn't there? So, you know, we'll see if we can kind of get that again. But that was news driven, wasn't it? You kind of have those plateaus, though, don't you? Like if you look in the sort of space that we've got here, strong rally, you know, pullback, strong rally, pullback, strong rally. So, you know, might have to be a little bit patient with this one, see if we can get a bit more of a pullback to the downside. Ifran, can we check dollar Swiss? Yeah, dollar Swiss actually had a nice move to the downside, didn't it? Where is that now? Can't see it there. I might be being blind though, but I do wear glasses, so. Wow. Huge move from dollar Swiss. Huge move. We did come into those lows though, so nice move to the downside. Again, look at that though. That's got to have smashed ATR by loads. 122 pips in a session. Oh, let's get rid of those. I mean, look at the range that dollar Swiss has been in. You could kind of argue you're at the low of the range in here. I know though the Swiss franc has been quite strong though recently, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Swiss franc did remain strong. It's just that you probably, it's just the dollar's probably driving this market back to the upside. So if we take a look at Euro Swiss, for instance, I think Euro Swiss. Oh, there was dollar Swiss. Already had it open. Euro CAD. Did I have Euro Swiss open? I was looking at Euro Swiss at one point for a short. So you can see here, Euro Swiss hasn't really been affected by that. So to be honest, the move driven there is probably down to the fact that we've got that US dollar GDP figure. So Euro Swissy could still technically make it lower. Put all these on here. Must have saved them on a template. I'm not the biggest fan of MetaTrader either, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, we're approaching that sort of 95 handle on Euro Swiss. So maybe Swiss pairs in general are coming into a little bit of an area of support and resistance. I do quite, like I said, I did quite like Euro Swiss downside. We've had a few weeks of downside pressure, and what I would like is when you have that weekly downward move that we're getting there, if I isolate that, what I typically like to look for from a swing trading point of view is the sort of change in the 4-hour trend. So you've got that consolidation, we break out, we pull back. You got the 2050 there. These are nice spots to sort of look for those rejections. So may get another one. The price can pull back a little bit. So I do know the Swissy is quite strong at the minute. Sorry, a few questions come through, guys. Let me answer these. What's your take on the BOJ tonight? The Bank of Japan don't typically change too much of their monetary policy, especially in the recent years. And so I don't really expect too much because I think the Bank of Japan actually expected inflation to rise, or CPI numbers at least to rise to 3%. So I don't think they're going to change anything on their stance, to be honest. Although it's very, very important. If they do, it'll be a big shock. They may be okay at the moment because obviously dollar yen has fallen. They were very concerned when dollar yen was reaching that 145 handle before. They were very concerned about prices, but now prices kind of fallen away. They may be back on that sort of dovish road. Vincent, how many trades are you able to take within a week? And how long have you gone without taking a trade? That's a good question. How long have I not gone without taking a trade? I'd probably say the max 2 to 3 days without taking a trade. I'd probably say. I'm very much one of those traders that has to line up. If there's something that I don't feel is right with it, I won't take the position. And that can be quite and that could mean I miss out on some moves, and I have done quite often. But I have to be comfortable in a position. Basically, I have to be comfortable, and if I don't feel like something's right, I won't take a position. And at the end of the day, you're the person that's managing you, right? You're the person that's managing your funds. So I wouldn't feel bad if you don't take a trade for a certain amount of time. You know, it's just, we got to remember this. Everything's on you. You're not doing this to impress anybody else. You're not doing this for anybody else. You're doing it for yourself. So as long as you're happy with how you're performing, how you're managing your money, or if you've got leverage funds or whatever, then, you know, that's all that matters, I'd say, at the end of the day. How many trades are you able to take within a week? I mean, I could press that button a lot, really. It takes that discipline, doesn't it? It's easy to press the button, right? It's easy to press the button. Pressing the button at the right time, where you're comfortable with the price, is the difficult job, right? Because we could always get a better entry, you could always probably get a better exit. But you just got to manage that mind, I'd say, first. Denise, Monday Oz is right decision. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be pretty important as well. I think August trading is going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. And it's my birthday month, so hopefully we get lucky with a few things. Vegas, honestly, trading during the news is like sailing through a wavy storm. If you ain't a sailor or you don't have a large boat, you're going to get real trenched. I like that. I'm going to take that with me. I'll take that saying with me. I hope you don't mind. Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. I just think news events, yes, they're great. You know, they drive the markets, like what we're seeing with the GDP at the minute. But nobody thought that GDP figure would be that. You know, forecasts are there for a reason. The forecasts are basically based on a poll goes out to, you know, different funds, different banks, whatever. They then get that information back and they create a forecast around that. So, you know, that's why I get a little bit, you know, when you see these forecasted numbers, yeah, they're okay. They give you a feeling of what's going to happen. But, you know, you never truly know. You never truly know. I think unless you kind of really run the math yourself, from an economic standpoint, you're probably a bit more clued in on what the numbers would be. Denise, not much news in the crypto space. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I didn't really, usually when there's some news in the crypto space, it does grab some headlines, doesn't it? And I haven't really seen anything lately. So obviously we had that news of the ETF with BlackRock, and that's what sparked that move, wasn't it, in Bitcoin? But I haven't really seen anything since that. So I think for me personally, I think crypto needs to be regulated. As soon as there is regulation, I think the price will go through the roof. And yeah, need to see some regulation. Cheers, Vegas. Thank you for letting me take that. Right then, guys, I might leave it there. We're coming up to sort of that 54 minutes has gone absolutely crazy. Let's have a quick look at what's going on around. CAD Yen's looking really good at the moment. Do like CAD Yen. Let's see how gold's doing. Gold's breaking that 1945 level now, so that could be interesting if you're a gold trader. But yeah, I will leave it there. I'll speak to you guys next week. Next week is actually my birthday, so do I have a stream on my birthday? Let's see when my birthday lands, what day it lands. Don't even know. I have a stream the day before my birthday, so we'll do a birthday stream-ish on next Thursday. But yeah, I will leave it there. Thanks for joining me, guys, as always. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all your comments and questions. If you could leave the stream a like, I'd really appreciate that as well. And have a great day. Have a great trading day. Don't jump into anything that you're not comfortable with. And yeah, I will speak to you very soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Vegas. Cheers. Bye, guys.